Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Thanks for coming by today. So today's video, I just want to do a quick little July reading wrap up. Really just because I mostly just put out reading vlogs this in July, not really into my normal kind of weekly wrap ups and stuff like that. And so just to have a little wrap up, because I know, well, not everyone watches vlogs. So I just want to, just kind of gonna go over what I read in July because it was quite a bit and I enjoyed a lot of this very, very much. So in July, I participated in 2 major readathons and had a wonderful time with both of them. So the first one would be for Ktropeathon, which I just honestly had the time of my life. I just had so much fun with this event. I can't wait. I hope it comes back next year. I really do. The hosts are Chrissy Lewis Dostoevsky and Space. Beautiful Manusha and Dok Jiyoung. They did a wonderful job where the prompts and everything were based around tropes that you find in Korean media, particularly K-pop and K-drama. Again, if there ever was a readathon made for me, it was this one. And yeah, I just had a great time. I jumped right in feet first into a bunch of Korean books and Korean American books. And yeah, just had a great time. I loved the bingo board that they created because it was reading prompts, but we also watched K-drama. I watched a couple episodes as a group watch. I didn't make it all the way to the end of the series because I'm terrible at watching shows, but I did watch a couple of episodes of Hospital Playlist. Really good drama that I really liked it. It's obviously it's set in a hospital. We have these 5 friends that knew each other in like med school. And they're working at the same hospital. Yes, drama of working in a hospital mixed with, trying to find love, and it's cute. It was nice. I liked it. The 2 episodes I did find time to watch. I enjoyed it, and I like that they had some what they called life prompts. One was to make some fan art, which I did. Cook or eat some kind of Korean food, which I made tons. And what was the other one? Oh, a K-beauty tip. I did a face mask. Yeah, so it was just really fun. I love how they had set all that up. So let's get started. So let me talk about the second of it. Was of course Christmas Eve in July, which I was a co-host for, which took place in the second half of the month. So I really, even though Ktropeathon was the whole month of July, I really focused on those first couple of weeks just because I knew I was one that I would want to stick on my, put all my attention to Christmas Eve in July. For the second half, anyway, so this top half of the list of books read will be heavily inspired by Ktropeathon. Okay, let's just go because I've talked way too much already. All right, first up, and these are just in order that I kind of wrote them down on my list that I finished up throughout the month. So here we go. First up is The Hole by Hae-young Pyun. This is translated by Sora Kim Russell. This was pretty good, actually. We're following a man who, right in the beginning, has been in an accident, a pretty tragic accident. His wife has passed away in the accident, and he's been like in a coma. He's like disabled and injured, and all kinds of stuff. And so he's out of his coma and a little bit of rehab, and so it's time for him to go home. But he still needs pretty much round the clock care. He can't do anything for himself. And his mother-in-law decides to help out with that, and maybe that wasn't the right decision. Story goes from there. It was short, but very effective. I really liked that one. And I read a second book actually by Hae-young Pyun, The City of Ash and Red. I forgot to write the translator down. Maybe it was the same one. I don't remember now. Anyway, now this one was very strange, very weird. We're following this man who works for a pest control company, and he is sent to a country called Country C. This feels like a very dystopian sort of world. Countries are like alphabets, and I don't know. It's very strange. So this little country is covered in trash, like literal trash, like bags of garbage, because the garbage folks are on strike, and there's rats everywhere. It's just why he's kind of brought in, because he's known as being this amazing rat killer. But there's also the storyline of him being accused of murder back in his home country of his wife. And there's a thing where he kind of goes on the run and stuff. I don't know. It gets really flippin' weird, really bizarre, and it was a story. But it was very interesting. Okay, so after that, I then listened to this one on audiobook. Kim Jiyoung, Born 1982 by Cho Nam-Joo, translated from the Korean. These are all translated from Korean by Jamie Chung. And I absolutely loved this book. I love this book so much. It has catapulted to a new all-time favorite book ever. It is an amazing, amazing book. And I read a whole book chat about it, so I don't want to rant, I don't want to talk too much here about it, but it is wonderful. It's sort of fiercely feminist. It is documenting the life of Kim Ji-young, who was just an everyday woman living in Korea, and she's in her sort of early 30s and has a new baby, has to quit her job right there at the beginning of the book because she has to who's going to take care of the little baby. Goes backwards and forwards through time a little bit of her as a child and growing up, and some about of her mother being, growing up. It is wonderful. I have never felt so seen reading a book, and I cried, and I loved it so much, and I want to reread it now and forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, so I then read Troublemaker. Listened to this one on audiobook also. This is written by John Cho with Sarah Suk. You know John Cho as the actor we all love, and this one, I really enjoyed this one too. It is set in the early 1990s and right after the verdict of in LA, where the Rodney King assault trial basically, and when the cops were let go and all that, and the riots that took place that night. So we are on kind of that night, and we're following this young kid and who is Korean and living like I said, living in LA, and he's kind of has this really kind of touch and go relationship with his family, and I don't know, it was both a really kind of family story of how sometimes family expectations, when you're not living up to those expectations, things can get a little dicey, but also sort of around racism involving, of course, African American people in LA at that time, but also, Asian, particularly Koreatown, was also here pretty violently that night with the riots and everything. Just how all of this sort of culminated on this one night, and it was really good. It was very effective. Of course, they a lot about in there a lot about sort of gun violence and things too, which I thought was very pertinent. So I really enjoyed that a lot. Okay, then I read Heart and Soul by Erin Kinsella, and this was so sweet. This is a romance, and it's so cute, and I really loved it. So we're following a woman who is an author. She's written, some books, and one of her books is being turned into a K-drama. So she flies over to Seoul, and is meeting with all the people that are involved in the movie and everything. And lo and behold, she walks into this meeting, and who's going to be playing the male lead in this drama is her bias from her favorite K-pop band. Okay, so the story goes from there. Things happen, dating scandal, fake marriage, I'm telling you, the whole thing. But it's so cute and sweet. Really good insight into the sort of the K-pop industry, and really just a kind of a sweet love story. It was really fun, really super sweet. And yeah, I had a really good time with that one. It was really good. Okay, some physical books finally. I did read the Manuel Villains Are Destined to Die. Absolutely gorgeous book. I love this so much. This is by Gwon Gyeoeul, and the artwork is by Seoul, and this was really fun too. So this is translated by David Odell. This was really great. It follows this sort of I don't know if she's like a teenager, maybe an older teenager, because she's still living with her family. No, she's in college, that's right. Anyway, she's a young woman, and everyone is playing this video game. It's kind of like the hot new game everybody's playing, and she's resisting, I don't need it. I need to focus on my studies and stuff. But lo and behold, FOMO, she downloads the game, and she proceeds to beat the whole game, and then she notices that there's a hard mode. And so she switches over to hard mode. But one day the next morning she wakes up and she is in the game, playing out the game, but she's playing the role of the villain, and so she's having to like work through this game in real life, but as the villain. And as I said, all villains are destined to die because she's a bad person. And so this is just volume one. So we're kind of meeting the characters, and you see the sort of resemblance of her own life, how it's reflective of this villain character. It was really good. It's super interesting. Pulled me in. Definitely want to continue on with this series. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. The artwork is just stunning. I mean, she's just, how can you? It's just so lovely. Really love the artwork in here. I love manhwas because they, because you get all these colors, And look at that. Look, there's one of the guys. So she has to basically not necessarily have a guy fall in love with her, but she has to like raise their like level, of her, because again, she's a villain. Everybody already kind of hates her. So anyway, it's super interesting concept. I just had a really good time with that. So that was really good. I did listen to another audio, The Golden Orchard by Flora on, and this was really interesting too. This is another middle grade book. I read several middle grades for Ktropeathon and had a really good time with those. So this is okay, let me back up. So we're following this family lives in I think they live in Los Angeles. They're a Korean American family. It's a little girl, and she lives with her mom and her grandmother. And her grandmother has Alzheimer's. And so it's at that point of Alzheimer's where she's kind of needing to be watched and things like that. But she and the daughter, the grandmother and the daughter, the younger daughter, have this connection through food. They start cooking food, and particularly more traditional Korean recipes. And lo and behold, they have this little power that they can transport back in time through making these recipes. And so she kind of goes back in time with her grandmother and sees, her grandmother young, her mother young, things like that. And the story goes from there. It's really quite lovely. And there was a really twist at the end that was pretty shocking for me, actually. And I really loved it. I love this connection with food, food holding memory, food as a cultural memory. I don't know. It was just really lovely. Really lovely. So if you like a good time travel story, definitely recommend it. It was really good. Okay. Okay, because I loved Kim Ji-young, born 1982 by Cho Nam-Joo so much, I did also pick up Saha by her, this from my library. Again, also translated by Jamie Chang, and I liked this one a lot too. This one has a more sort of dystopian sort of feel. We are in this little sort of island country, and it's set up very well, I don't know how to explain it. It's set up in a very strange way. It's kind of run almost by this cabinet of ministers that are like mysterious. No one knows who they are. There are like 3 distinct levels of a caste system, essentially, where you've got the very wealthy and rich, and they have access to good schools and live in good homes and have good jobs. And then there's this kind of level underneath them where these people they're trying to become citizens. Well, that's what they're called, citizens, yeah. Or L's, basically. I think they're called L's, yeah, L. And then there's L2, which is that kind of lower level, which, they can maybe become a citizen level, like the L level, but, probably not, but they're okay people. Like, they're cool, right? They can exist in the world, right? And then there's what they call the Sahas, who are the lowest of the low. They have no status within this country. And they were sort of basically forced to squat in this old apartment building called Saha Estates. And basically this is told through the city. The story is told through several of the characters that live in Saha Estates. And it kind of, through their stories, it goes backwards and forwards in time. You see the history of how this country developed. Why is it like this? It's just super interesting. To me, I got some really good parallels between sort of, maybe the author was trying to draw some parallels with North Korea. I don't know for sure. That's just kind of how I was feeling. It was just super interesting, and I really loved it. And can't wait to read more by Cho Nam-Joo because she's an absolute fave now for sure. We also listened to another audiobook. This is a nonfiction, A Brief History of Korea by Michael Seth, and it is exactly what it says. It is a brief history of Korea. It takes us back through several of the sort of I don't know what they call them, dynasties, through up to about 2015-ish or so. And yeah, it was kind of a short and sweet, maybe like 8 hours long. I listened to it in a day at work. Just, history of Korea, just to, get a little base level of knowledge of the country. And yeah, it was super interesting. And I enjoyed it. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I finished. Oh, I didn't grab this one. I'm not gonna. I put it back on my shelf. Anyway, I finished Spirit Hunters by Erin. Oh, another middle grade book. I think this was the third and final middle grade book. Yes, Spirit Hunters by Erin. Another sort of Korean American story, and what we're following is a family. It's mom and dad and 3 kids, and the sort of middle daughter is kind of our main character, and her family moves to the DC area, and they move into a really old house that's been abandoned for a while, and because that's always a good idea. And so basically the story goes from there, like what's going on in this house, because is it haunted, is there a ghost, I don't know. More happens, things go on. It was really great. Honestly, it was really great. Really loved it. And as we find out, perhaps this little girl has a little more to her and discovers some things about herself. It was really good. I had a great time with that. And let's see, is this my final book? Let me think of that readathon. Well, no, it's not, because it doesn't matter. Okay, I did also read The Good Son by You-Jeong. I really liked this one. If you like psychological kind of thriller, I hate to call it a thriller necessarily, because it's not necessarily a thriller and to think of it, you're thinking of it as a thriller, but there's like this murder mystery in here. It's really more just a psychological story. I'll say that. It would probably be this young man who we learn has an issue with seizures, has some sort of seizure disorder, like epilepsy, and so he just deals with that. And he wakes up one morning and his mother is dead. She's been murdered. There's blood all over the house and everything, and he's like, what happened? Because he's just waking up to this after having a seizure, and he's literally like, did I do this? Did I not do this? Did someone else do this? And so we spend the next sort of few days of him trying to figure out what the heck's going on. And then of course we learn some things, and things go on, and it was really good. It was really good. I really had a good time with this one. It was just, yeah. That's all I'm gonna say. I liked this one a whole heck of a lot. Okay. And then I kind of switched gears from that and dug into some kind of non-Ktropeathon stuff. But I did listen to the audiobook for The Hollow Kind by Andy Davidson. Loved this one. Really loved this one. This is a 2 for 2 winner for me for this author. Cannot wait to read more. This has, we found a mom and her young son. They are moving into this into her grandfather's house that was just willed to her. She's fleeing an abusive husband, because of course she is. So this takes place in sort of like the late 1980s. It's creepy house vibes, it is folk horror vibes, it's something else going on vibes. There's also this sort of other man in this really small town who really wants to get a hold of this property, and and there's a shift in timeline. We go backwards in time to see a perspective from the woman's grandfather, so we can learn more about history about the property and the land itself. Whoa, it's so good. There was some really good dark stuff in here, good horror going on. I loved it. I thought it was fantastically written. I loved this book. Loved it. It was so good. Alrighty, and then after that, I did listen to another audiobook, The Hollow Kind. I just said The Hollow Kind. The Girl Who Loved Tom Gorda by Stephen King. This was the book for the King read-along pick for the month, and I like this one a lot too. So we're following a young woman, a young girl. I think she's like 9 years old. What was her name again? Trisha. Yeah. Interrupted. Okay, so she and her her parents are recently divorced, and she lives with her mom and her brother now in Maine, and the 3 of them go for a hike on the Appalachian Trail in Maine, and she proceeds to get lost. And so it's really just following her over the span of several days, as she's lost in the woods and trying to find her way out. yeah, I don't know, I really liked this a lot. I really, yeah, had a really good time with that one for Stephen King. That one was a winner. Okay, I did my reread for Invisible Monsters by Chuck Palahniuk. This was for Amy Noel Reed's Dark Hearts Book Club. I love this book. This is one of my favorite books of all time. Love my reread. I love it. It's about a model who gets in an accident. She loses the bottom half of her face and then proceeds to go on a zany adventure with a wonderful, wonderful character named Brady Alexander. I love it. I don't know. I love that book. Not everyone likes that book. I love that book. Okay, another book. So we're getting into Christmas, Evil, or July stuff here now. Jedi Summer with the Magnetic Kid. This is by John Boden. I loved this. This is a really wonderful coming-of-age story set in 1983 and in a really small town in Pennsylvania. We've got two brothers, and one sort of like a young teen, and then one gets the Magnetic Kid is a bit younger. This it's just the summer, the summertime between school years, and what just their family, what's going on in this small town with them. They're waiting for Return of the Jedi to come to their little podunk theater. It takes forever to get there, even though the movie's been out for a while. Just things that go on that summer. I don't know, it's just wonderfully written. John Boden is just a wordsmith, and it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous writer, and I loved this book. I really loved this book. So if you like coming of age, add it to your list. It is not long at all, but it was beautifully done. Loved it. Okay. And then a book that I don't think I ever talked about in any of the vlogs, and really just because I forgot, was Fat City by Leonard Gardner. Now this was for my little book club that I run with some friends of mine. This is a book that would have never been on my radar, but it's a bit out of my comfort zone. I just, again, this is not a book I would pick up on my own, right? But I had a really good time with this, actually. It was super interesting. We're following basically two boxers. I cannot remember where this takes place now. I do know. It's in California. What's the name of the city? I can't remember now. Anyway, it's not LA. It's a smaller, more kind of grungier town. We're following two men. One is a bit older. He's back in his 30s, which for boxers is kind of old. He's kind of down on his luck, and I think this is like the 1940s time period, if I remember correctly. And then hold on. My life is interruptions. I can't just sit here and record one little video. Okay, so we're following, there's another younger man who's showing some promise in boxing. These two kind of try to get together with this, other man who has like a gym, and he's trying to get them, fights and matches and stuff. But really, they're just so sort of almost like broken down by like the state of the world, because there's not a lot of work going on again at this time period. The older guy is definitely deals with alcoholism. He does sort of like day labor work, like literally going to farms to pick crop for the day, that kind of stuff. I mean, just really struggling to make ends meet. And the younger guy is just also struggling because he's kind of fallen in love, and they got married, and his new wife is pregnant, and there's feelings there about that. And it was really gritty. It's a really gritty story, and it was, again, it was really well done. I thought it was very interesting. Again, and just not a book that would have been on my radar otherwise. So that's why I love book clubs and stuff so much. So yeah, if you like almost kind of slice of life, but with a really gritty undertone about these two guys, just living in, just with his hard times. Yeah, I'd recommend it. Okay, the final book for Ktropeathon, which I was waiting for my audiobook hold, was Once Upon a KProm by Kat Cho, and this was just a cute little YA romance about our main character, Elena, is a teenager in high school, and she used to know this kid named Robbie, and they were like best friends forever, and he moved away from the area I forget where they live. Maybe they lived in California too. I can't remember. Does everybody live in California? Anyway, so he moved away when they were 10 and moved back to Seoul, Korea, and proceeded to then become like a part of this boy band, which is like the top amazing, most amazing boy band ever, or a K-pop band, I should say. And so he is in, they're in Chicago. I remember that they're in the Chicago area, And he shows up and is like, remember, we made this pact so I could take you to prom. But other things are going on. And Elena's like, what? Why are you doing this? You haven't talked to me since you left. It goes through some drama. There's some things going on. It's a cute little YA love story. I don't know. It was fun. And it was cute. If you are a K-pop fan or a K-drama fan, lots of those kinds of tropes in the story. It was really cute. Not much more to say about it though. Okay, I listened to another audiobook because a hold came in, and that was for She Is a Haunting by Trang, Tran. And this is a YA horror novel. That was okay. I wanted to love it a little bit more. I didn't quite, and it's really because the main character was so much teen angst, right? But she and her younger sister, and well, her and her mom and her younger brother they all go to Vietnam for the summertime. They're gonna stay there for a little while, for I don't know, I think the whole summer. But she and her younger sister are going to stay with their father, who is sort of remodeling and revitalizing this old colonial home, and to kind of use it as like a B&B type situation. So he's like remodeling this thing. Now her main goal, she's totally pissed off at her dad because he just left, right? Which I get. But she's just like total brat, basically. But things are happening in the house, and we learn some history about what's going on, thoughts about colonialism, all that kind of good stuff's in here. Lots of bug stuff in here, which was good. But the main character for me just really got on my nerves after a while. Really brought my enjoyment down for this book. I like the ideas in this book, and I would love to have this explored, without this teen angst surrounding it. But this is an author, I'm definitely gonna keep an eye on the author and see what they come up with next, because I'm interested, I'm definitely interested. I'd say it's worth a read, but just know that you're gonna get into some teen angst, and especially if you're an older person like me. All right, I then read Young Scrooge by R.L. Stine, and yeah, we're following this 12-year-old kid named Rick Scroogeman, who's a bully and a turd to everybody in his school, and he gets Scrooged. He gets visited by the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future, and learns to change his ways. It's a classic kind of retelling of Christmas Carol, with a little bit of spookiness thrown in, a la R.L. Stine. It was just a fun, quick read. It was perfect for Christmas Evil in July. So I finished that one. I finished The Summer That Melted Everything by Tiffany McDaniel, and I sobbed reading this. It is gorgeous. I love this book so much. I love this author. She also wrote Betty, which is one of my favorite all-time books. And so this one's really good. So we're following a family. There's two sons, and of course mom and father, and they're in Breathitt, Ohio. And what's the year of this? It's 1960s. I can't remember now, but anyway, and right there in the beginning of the book, the father puts a letter in the newspaper for an invitation for the devil, and then the young guy, what was his name again? Fielding, who's the sort of younger brother of the family, meets this kid named Sal one day, and he's a little kind of African American boy. He shows up looking kind of ruddy in some old torn overalls and stuff. He shows up, it's like, yeah, I was invited, I'm the devil. And the story goes from there. Sal kind of gets permeated throughout this small town, often gets blamed for a lot of bad things that happened, because you say you're the devil, people will probably start to believe that you're the devil, but is he really the devil? I don't know. But it's also just a sort of family story about this family and the older brother, and family expectations, and the hot summer. What a hot when we have this heat wave of a summer, how even that can kind of make people act out of the normal, almost. And the power of persuasion, when someone keeps saying something over and over again, like, this kid is the devil, he's the cause of all of our woes, and then people start to believe it, more bad things are going to happen. This is hard, but there's a part in here where I literally was at my desk listening to the audiobook at work, and I just was like, I was like, hopefully no one would walk by and think I'm a crazy person. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. All right. And then what did I read? I read Beach Party by R.L. Stine. This is a point horror book. this is just a cute little, YA horror book following two teen girls as they are living it up in California on the beach. And but somebody might be out to get one of these girls, and there's some secrets and possibly murder. It's a point horror book. It was a lot of fun. Perfect for Christmas Evil. As was this one, The Deadliest of Friends by Mary Main. This one, we've got these two brother and sister teen that are headed to the sort of Lake Tahoe area for the summer, and they get there. One of the old, they used to come here a lot with their family. So when they get there, one of the kind of kids they used to know that them growing up is dead, and so it just leads down this story of like this young girl here. What's her name again? Megan. Yeah, she's like 15, and she's trying to figure out what's going on because she thinks someone has been wrongly accused of this guy's murder. So yeah, it's just a silly little, kind of silly little YA story, but it was fun. Very thematic for the summer because they're like boating, water skiing, all kinds of good stuff on the Lake Tahoe. All right. And last but certainly not least for July's Darcy and Kevin 13 by Martha Tolles. This is another, and I think I called it a middle grade book, but it's really more a young teen because these girls are like, they feel like they're like 12 and 13. So definitely on the older, end of the sort of the middle grade, sort of spectrum. But Darcy, there's a series of books about Darcy, but in this particular book, she's going to a summer camp for the summer. Perfect time to read that. And she's in cabin 13, which has been deemed the unlucky cabin because 13. And then there's this sort of competitive thing with another cabin 10, which is full of mean girls. And there's a little romance that blossoms with a guy from like the boys camp. I don't know, it's just a good little summer fun book. It was really cute. And I like these friendships that they made of these girls, and it's just a fun little book, one of these little Apple paper bags, So yeah, that was my July. It was a lot. I read a lot of good stuff. Honestly, there's nothing in here that I hated like at all. I mean, I had a fantastic book. I found an author with Cho Nam-Joo that is a new favorite of mine. I'm finding a new all-time favorite book. When you find a new all-time favorite book, it's just like amazing. This like weird light now. Anyway, that's it, guys. That was my month. So let me know how your July was and all that good stuff. I want to know. Let me know. And till next time, thanks for watching. I always appreciate it. I'll catch you in the next one.